Just like turning wood, when the grain changes, the cut changes. Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop. I haven't turned many bowls in a while, so I've got a number of dried bowls that I've turned years ago. Here's one made out of ornamental cherry, turned 10 years ago. So I better use this up before it's in my estate sale. So let's get started. I had this shrink wrap tape wrapped around it so it would dry faster on the inside, because the outside is larger, it would dry faster, so that tends to minimize cracking, and I had real good results with this because there is no cracking. All right, so let's put it in a chuck. Okay, I've got a friction chuck. I'm going to use a little bit of thin closed cell foam. Hope it doesn't stain the inside, but it won't matter because we'll return the inside anyway. So I've still got the little divot from 10 years ago to be able to get this centered, so let's do that. And we're just going to reshape the tenon and shape the outside of the bowl. Get the tool rest in place. See how far out around it is. Wow, doesn't look bad at all. So I'm going to start with my detail gouge to clean this tenon up. I've measured it, and I've got just a little bit of room for getting rid of the oval. Okay. Get the speed up to 800 or so. I'm using a Nova standard 50 millimeter jaws on this, so it uses a parallel tenon. And that looks pretty clean. Let's get into the corner. Get the surface flat. And let's just chamfer that a little bit. And that looks good. Okay. Now let's go ahead and shape the outside at 9.5 inches, and we want the bottom of the bowl to be approximately a third of that, or about 3 inches. I can take it down just a little bit around that corner, and I've got a uniform thickness of the original bowl of right at 1 inch, so about 10%, which is good for drying. So let's take my 1/2 inch bowl gouge and start shaping the outside. Let's raise that tool rest up just a little bit. And I'm going to change gouges. I'm going to switch to a 5/8 inch spindle gouge. Ride the bevel. Lift the handle till it cuts. I can get this tool rest a little better aligned. Now remember, this is a neighbor's tree. A really good looking ornamental cherry. I'm going to get the speed up a little bit. It's running true, so I'm going to get up to about 1,000. That hammering means I'm not cutting all of it, so let's back up and take another pass. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Ooh, very nice, nice and clean, except for down here. It needs a little work. Otherwise, that looks great. All right, so with the tailstock in the way, it's kind of hard to get that in there ideally, but I think what I'm going to do is use my shear scraper to clean that up around there. It's still got a bit of a burr on it. Let's get the tool rest back. Bring this up. Maybe the first pass I'll just keep it flat and just trying to get rid of some of the unevenness. And now a little shear scraping. Blend those two cuts together. Let's see how that looks. Okay, looks good. Feel I got one little transition area here that needs another scrape or two. I'm looking at profile up here, and I still see just a couple of bumps. Okay. All right, very pleased with that surface. That won't take but just a, I think I can probably start that 150 or 180 grit. Already got the chuck mounted. Take off the friction chuck. And put this in here. And press it in the center. Tighten it up. Got just the right size tenon. Good hold. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to true up the rim before I do anything else. Let's go ahead and get this back. Okay. We're going to do some pull cuts across like this until we get it somewhat flat. Get up the speed a little bit. Going to mostly do that here. Let's go all the way across. Now, since I want it sloped down, I think I might as well go ahead and turn this tool rest close to the angle that I want. I can better see it. Okay. See how close I'm getting here. Still got some wood that hadn't been touched. So. Still got wood that hadn't been touched. Okay. I think I'll do better with that bowl scraper, bowl gouge. Let's see. Still got just a little bit. I'm going to put a bead here. That's going to take some of that down, but I can't. I've got to get it cleaned up first. Okay. Clean, clean, clean all the way around. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and undercut this rim in case I do any damage here. And let's just get a feel for how far out around it is. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay, I'm going to switch to a different profile bowl gouge. I'm going to go to one that's a little more parabolic than that one I've got, which is a little more V-shaped. Get the speed back up to about 1,000. And this entry cut is the tricky cut. Let's see how clean that is. Cut wood, still got a little bit of wood here that hadn't been cut, so I got to come back just a tiny little bit. Parallel with the floor, bevel of the bevel on the flute directly into the wood, so don't get escape. Like that. Let's see. It feels good. It could be a little thinner. So let's get it a little thinner. Get some bowl calipers. Let's take care, goes down, thick down the bottom. I need to get this just a little bit thinner. It feels good. Got some ripples down in here. It's got to be taken away. Let's do that again. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and scrape that bottom. We'll switch to a negative rake scraper. This part out here is not too bad. So right out under here, I got some tool marks. So I'm using this large Carter & Sons negative rake scraper. I'm going to bring it out up at an angle to get right here. See if I can't get rid of some tool marks. A little higher rake angle. Okay, nice fluffy shavings. Okay, it feels good. Okay, I've got a sharp edge on both sides. Let me just kind of turn the speed down and just kind of knock those away. Now I'm going to put a bead right there, and to start that bead, what I like to do is kind of mark it with a parting tool. Okay, I think I can cut that a little bit better. So let's come in here with my spindle gouge and just ease into that curve. And then we'll round it over just slightly. All right. And I want to take this surface down just a little bit. So I'm going to do that with a spindle gauge. 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Okay, that looks pretty good, but needs some more cleanup. Go with a little sharper profile bead point tool. I'm going to use a tool that I don't use much, haven't had much experience with it, and that's this spear point scraper. So I'm going to bring that up on the edge and see if I can't get down in there. Bring that surface down close to the bottom of the bead. All right, now I'm ready to do some carving. So I'm going to take this chuck off with the bowl. I like the handle I made for my wrench. It makes it a little easier to hold on to. It's the one that comes with the Record Power SC4. So we take this off, and then we thread it on this shop-made jig, carving jig. Now the problem is when you carve, you ought to be carving at about the same height as you're turning. That is, your work should be close to your elbow. Close. Now, that's a challenge with this, but there is a trick to it. And let me show you that trick. Mike Davies pointed out, I just need to use what he calls a pop-up, and that is a little elevated stand that I made for my granddaughter that works just fine for this. So my next step is thinking about the pattern and what tool I'll use, because I have 12 different tools. So early on I made a storyboard with gives me a different feel for the size patterns, and I've decided I'm going to go with I think a number 2, and this is securely in place, and we're going to have these, I think, slightly at an angle, and we're going to cut from the bead to the rim, and here goes. And we want to slice the tool along the edge. And I think I may come back with another tool and try a different design. Just slice the tool. Just twist it a little bit and come out of it. Down and out. And they don't have to be uniform, because this is a handcrafted item. Just like turning wood, when the grain changes, the cut changes. Now all we have to do is take off the tenon off the bottom. So I've got my vacuum, shop-made vacuum chuck. I'm going to bring up my tailstock, belts and suspenders, long as possible. Get the speed up a little bit. Bring up the tailstock again. And use bowl gouge. Just remove this. Okay, before I get too far here, I need to do some cleanup here. I think I'll just come in with this. Let's see what it looks like. I really didn't check to see how thick this was. I think I better do that. I better do that. Make sure I'm not going to make a funnel. No, I've got lots in there to texture or whatever. I'll switch to a smaller gouge, my detail gouge. Now I'm going to use a scraper to clean up the bottom. Use my shear scraper at an angle. Drop the tool rest just a little bit. I want to go ahead and sand that a little bit. A 120, that's not 120. Let's see how flat it is. Make sure it's not going to bottom out. That's good. And now we're going to put just a little bit of detail on the bottom with this little notch, a la Richard Raffin. And I see a mark here, so that's where I'm going to get rid of that mark by doing this in that location. Whoa, got a little aggressive there. Now I'm going to come in from this side. And then maybe make a mark right here. Okay, do a little sanding, final sanding here. $120, $180, $240. See what it looks like. And that looks good. Got a little bit of tear out there. Wonder if I can clean that up with a scraper. Let's try. A little water to stiffen the fibers. Wax might have been better. Let me put a burr back on here. Just hone the old burr away. Use my burnishing rod, about a 3-degree angle. Maybe 2 strokes. And let's see if I can get in there very carefully. Let me know what you think about carving the rim. And remember, y'all stay safe and come on back, you hear?